You are seeing here a schematic representation of three of the common biogeochemical cycles: the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and the phosphorus cycle. Let us take them one by one. This is the carbon cycle. The importance of carbon to living organisms is that it is the essential component of all the organic compounds synthesized and used in the living system. The source of carbon dioxide, the reservoir pool, can be atmosphere or hydrosphere. In the atmosphere, carbon dioxide is freely available in a gaseous form. In the hydrosphere, carbon dioxide is dissolved in the form of carbonates. There is always a mutual exchange between these two, carbonates evaporating into carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide dissolving in water to form carbonates. These carbonates and carbon dioxide are used by the producer community for photosynthesis to synthesize the organic food. From producers, carbon is passed on to the consumers, primary, secondary, and tertiary. And from producers and consumers, decomposition activity to some extent results in the release of carbon dioxide back to the reservoir pool. A major part of return of carbon dioxide to the reservoir pool is by way of respiration in all these living components: producers, consumers, and decomposers. A small amount of carbon may get into sediments, and may get deposited as fossil fuel over a very, very long period of time. This may happen either from producers or from consumers, and it requires very, very slow chemical changes. Apart from fixation by plants, one another way by which carbon may enter or carbon dioxide may enter the reservoir pool: volcanic eruption, which happens rarely, and human contribution in the form of burning of fuels, wood, petrol, diesel, etc., releasing carbon dioxide. Human beings are extracting carbon from fossil fuels. So that way, carbon cycle is operating on its own with interference from human activity, but in general it can be said it is a perfect cycle because there is a balance between input and output. Coming to nitrogen cycle, compared to carbon dioxide, nitrogen is very, very abundant in the atmosphere. Nearly 80% of the atmosphere is nitrogen, and nitrogen is important for living organisms for the synthesis of proteins and nucleic acids. Though abundant nitrogen is present in the atmosphere, they cannot be directly fixed by plants like carbon dioxide. So there is no direct biological fixation of carbon dioxide. Indirect biological fixation occurs in the form of bacteria like rhizobium or blue-green algae, and this biological fixation of nitrogen results in the formation of some nitrogen containing compounds, ammonium compounds. These ammonium compounds, ammonium salts, are converted into nitrates by a group of bacteria called nitrifying bacteria. The process is known as nitrification. This is one aspect of nitrogen getting into the exchange pool. Nitrogen may react with oxygen and sometimes water to form nitrates, which may also get into the ecosystem. Apart from this, there is fixation of nitrogen by lightning and thunder. Electrochemical changes may result in the fixation of nitrogen. So, nitrates present in soil and water can be absorbed by plants, from plants to animals, from plants and animals to decomposers. Thereby, ammonia salts and nitrogen containing salts get returned to the soil or water, and the cycle continues within soil or water. There is also another group of bacteria in the soil which may convert nitrates into oxides of nitrogen by a process called denitrification, which results in the release of nitrogen back into the atmosphere. Very rarely, volcanic eruption also may contribute to the entry of nitrogen. So, much of the nitrogen cycle operates in the soil and water. And number two, many kinds of bacteria play a very significant role in maintaining nitrogen cycle. The symbiotic bacteria present in the root nodules, nitrogen fixing bacteria, ammonifying bacteria, nitrifying bacteria, denitrifying bacteria, and so on. Coming to phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is important for living organisms for the formation of nucleic acids, energy rich compounds like ATP, and in animals, bones and teeth. The reservoir pool for phosphorus happens to be the phosphate rocks. From phosphate rocks, either by a natural process of weathering or by a human activity, mining, phosphorus gains entry into soil and water. It is available in the form of phosphates. These phosphates can be absorbed by plants, from plants to consumers, from plants and consumers, from producers and consumers to decomposers. So, this cycle in soil or water will be continuously operating as far as phosphorus is concerned. A very small amount of phosphorus by leaching may get into sediments, ultimately to be involved in the formation of phosphate rocks. But the characteristic situation here is there is no balance between input and output. Input is higher than output to the phosphate rocks. Therefore, phosphorus cycle remains as an example of imperfect cycle.